Welcome to The New Health. I'm your host, Jessica Preston, where we meet with thought leaders in health and healthcare that are revolutionizing healthcare for a better world. We have James Maskell back with us again today. So happy you're back with us, James.
Great to be back with you all.
So previously we spoke about community and its importance when it comes to health, breaking through loneliness patterns. And we had talked a little bit about men and some work that you have done. And I would love to hear more about that if you're willing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe it can help bring some of the concepts that we've spoken in previous segments, to clarity. I got excited about community because it was part of how I grew up, and also I saw the sort of beginning signs of that when you delivered this sort of new health in groups, that it was not only transformative, but it was super efficient, resource efficient. It could become like a standard of care that could save medicine. So I was like really excited about it. And at the beginning of 2019, I realized, okay, this is what the next book's going to be. And I started recording podcasts with innovators who are doing certain things. But then I had some things that summer that came up for me that were extremely tough. My business partner passed away. So my business partner of 10 years passed away. That had an effect on both of the businesses that I was running. He was running one of the businesses and he was my partner in the other one. So that was extremely tough. Being a father, living in a new city. I just moved from Los Angeles to the Sacramento area where my wife's from, and didn't really, lost all my friends and was like starting again on that end. And then, also just dealing with now having a 6-year-old and having to take some more responsibility for being a father and like how I was doing it. And also I think being a little bit like overly obsessed with the mission, right? Having an imbalance in how I was showing up. And my partner and then my coach that I work with had suggested joining a men's group, and I was skeptical because, who isn't, right? When you never heard of that, it's not a normal thing in society to be part of, but I thought I would give it a go and to be part of it. And I've been part of it now for 5 years, and we meet every week for 3 hours on a Wednesday night. It's based on it's based on sort of Jungian concepts, and it's been transformational, and it's really brought home so many of the ideas that I literally wrote a book about, right? And I didn't write about my experience in the men's group in that book because I wrote that book that year, and that was just the beginning of being in the men's group. But now that I've been in it for 4 years, it's been transformational. You should have my wife on the show and she can talk about what it's been like for me, from her perspective, me being in the group. But it's been transformational for me in my personal life, in my business life, in so many different parts of my life. And I'm happy to, to share more about what I've experienced.
Yeah, I'd love to dig into that. So first of all, Jungian principles, basically for what people to understand, can you just give a little brief, this is how you are digging in to get to have a more intimate space between you as connection. Right, between the men that you're in your group with.
I think the fundamental thing is trust, right? Is trust amongst the men and trust amongst the group. And so each session, you build trust and you build connection so that you can get into some really vulnerable places, right? Ultimately, men struggle with vulnerability. They're not able to be vulnerable. Some of the places that society tells them that it's safe to be vulnerable, like a therapist's office, you can see has not always been safe for men to just like have a complete stranger and get into like the deepest stuff straight away with a total stranger. That does not feel safe to men, and that's why I think therapy doesn't really work as well as it should for relationships and so forth. Like the outcomes are not particularly good because I think that's not a very safe place. However, in this group, each week there's a process that we follow consistently. The first thing is like getting out what happened this week to you that could be getting in the way of you being able to go and be connected to these men. That's the first piece. The second piece is just honoring the different archetypes. There's a big thing about Jungian thought is there's different male archetypes. The first stage of the group is really to think is the lover archetype, and that's really about accessing feelings. One of the things that I recognized is that I was kind of numbed out through different choices, in my life, whether it be like alcohol or, just in the way that I operated. I was not really feeling the range of emotions that a human is capable of feeling. And so part of the first process is to think like, how am I actually feeling now? Right, and sharing that out. And I think that's been really valuable to allow me at least once a week to think, how am I feeling now? So that's the first step. The second step is trust and accountability. So that's the warrior archetype. The warrior archetype is really all about, have I been true to my word in the last week? Have I been true to my own accountability with myself? And have I been true to the accountability of the other men in the group? And being accountable to your word consistently is the foundation of trust that would allow a group of men to trust each other to a point where they could actually go into deeper work. The third round is the magician round. The third archetype is the magician round, and that's really getting into the dark stuff, really like, where are we, what's going on? And in that round, we're able to really think about like, what is really happening for us this week, what's hot for us, and can we, go through different processes to release some of that. And I had an unbelievably cathartic experience in my second ever group where I really dove into the fact that like, hey, my business partner passed away, and some things with the business went sideways because of that. And it really because my life and my mission are so intertwined, it was like affecting me in a really deep way. And I had a moment to just really like let loose some of the energy that was sitting within me. And as soon as I did that, I felt clear, and I was able to really make clear decisions about the future after that. And then the last round is the king round, and that's really honoring the other men in the group. And doing that once a week for 5 years has had a dramatic effect on, how I show up in the world, how I show up as a father, how I show up as a husband, how I show up as a leader in my businesses, and how I show up as a leader in the movement. And I never expected, I didn't think before that I needed it, but now that I have it, I realize that actually every man needs this, really.
No, that's wonderful. And I think there are a few things. Most of the men that I surround myself in my world now are doing men's work in men's groups, and it's really dramatic. The calmness that they present with, that they're connected with themselves, they connect easier with other people. I think it's important for people to know, and for us to speak a little bit about how I think a lot of men would be concerned joining a group like this might let them lose their edge. From my experience, it seems like it actually enhances your ability to function in all of those areas.
I mean, I can't see any area where it's been where it's gone, anything's gone down. I think it's clarity, and also, we're on the topic of health. It's extremely healthful too. Mm-hmm. Like in that group, I have seen men, quit drinking, quit smoking, lose weight, get into new healthy behaviors consistently, be accountable, to that group in that sort of support. And so even though it's free, right, there's no cost to being a part of it. And also, it's not a health-focused event. The focus of it is not health. All the men in that group are all physically healthier than when they started or when I met them. Mm-hmm. And secondly, now that we've built 5 years of cohesion, and there's 6 or 7 of us that have been there for a long time, built a lot of cohesion, and each new member that comes in, it's a lot easier to add them in and create that cohesion. But we've actually had really amazing outcomes with men who have come in, who have had quite dire life circumstances, and in a short period of time have been able to really transform their relationship to their spouse, to their kids, to their work, and seeing that kind of transformation makes me know, not just think, but know that this is a critical part of the recreation of a healthy society.
Yeah, so women have so many social groups already. I mean, they have so much in that socialization space that it's more natural. So I love seeing that men are doing this more, and I think it's important for as a woman or as women to know that this is a place where women shouldn't be. Men should be in connection and community in this way. Think about old societies when it came to great-grandparents, grandparents, parents, children in that community, sitting by the fire, having the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're not. It's not really new, right? It's really coming back to sort of other ways of being. It's actually looking at ways that we, evolved and adapted to be in society, right? We used to live in communities of 150. There's Dunbar's number research about what kind of safety is created in what sort of groups. So we're really just, we're dealing with the fact that that third pillar in community has fallen away so dramatically, and we're just rebuilding, that third pillar. And there's lots of different ways to do that, but I think it's absolutely critical to a highly functional society.
So I know of a couple men's groups. I know there's
Yeah.
one called Mankind Project,
Yeah.
and that one is global.
Yeah.
And are you aware of any other groups that are more, I know there are smaller, like church men's groups,
Yeah.
I've seen those. How else could people find these types of men's groups?
Yeah, so Mankind Project is the group that I'm part of as well, and there's integration groups all across the world, and they have weekend groups. My friend Andrew Horn runs a group called Junto. I think it's wejunto.com, and that's like weekend events for men that I think is really powerful. There are other groups that are created around fitness, right? So there's fitness-based ones, there's faith-based ones, and there's more and more emerging all the time. It's one of the green shoots actually that I see in the sort of men's health movement. Men's health is really in crisis, like the chronic disease, the suicide, the loneliness, all of these things are going up dramatically. We see the first time in history that the life expectancy of a group of people, men in America, has gone down. And so these are some of the green shoots that I'm seeing, that more and more men are feeling called to be in community with other men in healthy ways.
I'm seeing that it's actually working.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, as I'm seeing that more men are saying yes, seeming to say yes. So.
Yeah, and talking about it publicly, I think, is one of the key things to aid adoption.
Yeah, I'm really glad we spoke about that today.
Yeah.
So, James, thank you so much again for being here. Could you
course.
please let everyone know how they can reach you?
Yeah, my website is jamesmaskell.com, and then you can also find me on Instagram, Mr. James Maskell. That's where I'm most active, and look forward to connecting with you.
Thank you again. Join us again next week when James will be back to talk a little bit more about health and community. And please stay tuned after these messages for our next guest.